The necromancer raised his hand, and the air grew heavy. The ground trembled beneath the men's feet as the undead shuffled closer. Their empty eyes faintly glowed in the darkness, and their decayed hands reached out like claws. Tom gripped his axe tightly and shouted, "Stay together! Don't let them surround us!" But before they could form a proper defense, the undead surged forward. Jake fired his rifle, the shot echoing through the night. One of the creatures collapsed, but two more took its place. Father Henry held his crucifix tightly, whispering prayers under his breath. A faint barrier of light formed around them, temporarily holding the horde at bay. The necromancer's laugh pierced the air. "You think your faith will save you? This is my domain. Here, even death serves me." With a flick of his wrist, the glowing barrier shattered like glass. The men were forced to fight. Tom swung his axe with all his strength, cleaving through the undead, while Jake reloaded as fast as he could. Father Henry stepped back, his prayers growing louder, but fear was etched across his face. Amid the chaos, the necromancer raised his other hand, and the ground beneath them began to crack. From the fissures, more figures rose, twisted skeletons, their jaws snapping and their bony fingers clawing their way up. "We can't hold them off," Jake shouted, panic rising in his voice. Then, through the noise, a faint voice echoed from the mansion. "Help me!" The men froze. It was Danny's voice. Tom clenched his jaw and looked toward the house. "We came here for him. I'm not leaving without that boy." Father Henry nodded, his fear replaced by determination. "Then we press on. God help us." Together, they fought their way through the writhing mass of undead, cutting and shooting their way toward the mansion. The necromancer stood still, his glowing eyes following their every move. When they reached the mansion's heavy doors, they burst inside and slammed them shut, barricading them with a cabinet. For a moment, silence fell, broken only by their ragged breathing. The mansion's interior was darker than the night outside. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the shadows seemed to move on their own. Faint whispers echoed through the halls. "This place is cursed," Jake muttered, clutching his rifle tightly. "We keep moving," Tom said firmly. "Danny's here somewhere." They followed the sound of the boy's voice, which seemed to echo from deep within the mansion. As they ventured further, the walls grew colder, and glowing green symbols began to appear on their surfaces. Finally, they entered a massive chamber at the heart of the mansion. In the center was a black altar, and lying on it was Danny, pale and motionless, his eyes half open. "Danny!" Tom shouted, running toward the boy. But as he reached the altar, the necromancer's voice boomed through the room. "You should have stayed away." The doors slammed shut behind them, and the symbols on the walls glowed brighter. Shadows rose from the corners, taking monstrous shapes. Danny's eyes opened fully, but they were no longer his. They glowed with the same eerie green light as the necromancer's. His lips twisted into a chilling smile. "You're too late," he said, his voice distorted and inhuman. The men realized too late. Danny was no longer the boy they had come to save.